Thanks for watching Numbskull News, and today I'm going to get back into this Pac-12 streaming deal. It's not really a TV deal anymore, is it? But of course, every day there's more and more people piling on and talking shit about the Pac-12 deal, streaming deal. The Arizona State AD came out. I think he's also the vice president of the university. He came out and said, well, look, it's kind of disappointing. I'm, not word for word, obviously, but, a little disappointing about the TV deal there. But it should be enough money to keep us all together, the 10 schools together. Not really believing that much. And here's the thing, all the different media outlets, YouTube, in print, whatever, there's a fallacy that's been going around for the last couple of days, like, okay, and this is the impetus for everyone saying, well, the Pac-12 isn't going to implode, is it going to dissolve, it's not going to self-destruct, teams are not going to leave, because, the deal might only be around $25 million a year, but that's only like a $6 million difference. Oregon and Washington aren't going to go to the Big 12 for that. They would go to the Big 10 because you're talking $100 million, and they would go for less money. They would take like $50 million to go there. That's a major bump from where they are. But keep in mind, all right, $25 million from a mostly streaming deal. And let's just talk about Apple TV. That was on the forefront, right? That they're in the lead apparently, or whatever. They've emerged like a phoenix from the ashes to take control of the Pac-12 TV deal or streaming deal. There's some things I've learned about Apple TV, and all you got to do is look at the MLS deal that they did. That $25 million isn't really $25 million. It's not really a $6 million gap. Let me explain this. Apple is going to kick back production costs to the Pac-12, and that ain't cheap. All right, it costs a hell of a lot of money. We're talking millions of dollars every year to produce all the Pac-12 games. Plus, you're going to lose corporate sponsors, or at least have a massive reduction in your corporate sponsorship money. That could also be millions of dollars. Why would you lose corporate money? Well, you're on Apple TV. No one's going to see you. This is how sponsorships work, y'all. They want to give their money to a product, to, a sports organization or what have you, because everyone's going to be watching you. You're going to have all of this exposure on ESPN or Fox or CBS or NBC. We're talking millions upon millions of eyeballs, so they want to get their products, all right, on your TV show, because that's what it is. It's what college football is. That's what the NFL is. It's a TV show. It's entertainment. Now, if that show is now a streaming show, you got a problem. Coca-Cola isn't really trying to do product placement for some little bullshit Netflix show that no one watches. It's not Stranger Things and all that. Of course, they're going to try to get all over that. It's not even that. It's way down the line from there. And that's Netflix. Okay, that's got like 200 and something million subscribers. You're talking about Apple TV. It's got a fraction of that. And the Pac-12 isn't going to move the needle for that. Just in case you want to say, well, the Pac-12 isn't going to agree to that. They don't have to. They don't have to. The NFL. Apple TV was in the lead to get the Sunday ticket. And they have certain things and stipulations, Apple does, on how they do business. Now, NFL didn't want to agree to that stuff. All right, and the NFL have options all over the place. The NFL prints money. They print money. Wherever they go, money just shows up. Apple TV didn't give a damn. They said, we know you're the NFL. We know you can go somewhere else and sell the Sunday ticket. But this is the way we do business. This is the way we're going to do it. And if you want to have this on Apple TV, it's the way it's going to be. Or you can go down the road. And they went down the road. They went to YouTube TV and got a deal done. More in their favor. Apple TV doesn't give a shit. And that's the NFL. That's a you want to talk about the most watched TV show in the history of mankind? It's the NFL. Every week, it's the NFL. Hell, people get massive ratings when there's no games, when it's the off season. People are still talking NFL. It's a freaking 12-month league. And Apple TV told them to kiss their ass. What do you think they're going to tell the Pac-12? They're going to say, look, we know you don't have any options. You're not the NFL. This is the way it's going to go. All right, we'll pay you this, but we're going to take out money for production costs and anything else that may cost us money. We're going to kick it back to you. But that's how it's going to play out with Apple TV. This ain't a free ride, man. So yeah, that $25 million isn't a true $25 million. Not when you add the way Apple TV does business plus your loss of corporate sponsorship money. All right, and it doesn't end there. You're going to lose recruits. All right, think about it. You got a kid. Let's say you got a 4 or 5 star recruit, right? So he's got an option of TCU, Baylor, or Oregon. Now, years ago, it's a no-brainer. That kid's going to Oregon. However, NIL helps out. Let's say TCU can offer him $100,000. Let's say BYU steps up and says, you know what, we'll give you $200,000. Well, then here comes Big Daddy Warbucks, Nike Money, Oregon, and they say, you know what, $500,000. We'll give you 5 right now. Come on. Now, this kid in this new day and age, because this isn't about education anymore. This is all business, a multi-billion-dollar business. So many people can't get that through their freaking head that college sports is a freaking multi-billion-dollar business. Well, it's what it is. And now these kids can go out and get agents. And the big-time 4 and 5-star recruits will have agents. So this kid's going to have an agent. And this kid's going to tell him, well, hold on. I know $500,000 sounds really good. But what we need to do is go back to TCU and Baylor and these other 2 Big 12 schools, and let's have these guys see if we can't get them up. Let's see if we can't get that money up to around $300,000, or maybe a little north of that. And this kid's gonna say, "Well, hold on, that's $500,000, and it's Oregon." He's like, "Kid, it's Apple TV. No one's gonna watch you. All right, you want to see your draft stock plummet? Go ahead and go there. Because if I can get you in the first round, you can go to TCU or Baylor, and you can get into the first round. All right. If you go in the second or third round, it kills your draft stock. That you're going to lose millions, not a couple 100,000. Don't be short-sighted. All right. I'll front you a little cash if you need it right now. But let's go over here where we can work your draft stock to the highest possible level it can be. Let's don't go to Apple TV. I want people watching my client on ESPN and Fox. And that's going to be a reality of the situation. And exactly why Oregon, especially, is not going to allow their Tier 1 rights on Apple TV or Amazon or any other streaming option. But it doesn't stop there. Wait, we got more. It does. Let's also look at the portal, right? The transfer portal. These kids are not going to leave situations in the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, or the Big 12 to go to any school in the Pac-12 and be on Apple TV. No. They're not going to give up exposure on ESPN, on Fox, CBS, NBC. They're not going to do it. It's cool to have, be on ESPN Plus once in a while, because all these other conferences, they have streaming components on their TV deals. Whether it's Peacock or ESPN Plus, it's there. But it's just a component. It's cool to be on there once in a while. Not a big deal. But the vast majority of the games, especially the big games, is going to be on the Big Daddy linear networks. So once you add all that up, I can't give you an exact number, but it's not going to be a $6 million difference between the Big 12 and the Pac-12. It's going to be more like 10. And that's no bullshit. It's going to be a hell of a lot of money lost, revenue lost. That exposure alone is worth millions of dollars. These schools, especially the good ones, especially the ones like Oregon who know how to brand, they are not interested in losing what they have built. All right, and they're not going to lose it for the Pac-12. I'm sorry. Another thing I need to cover, of course, there's all these rumors. I think it got started by that MHVER 313 and whatever the hell his name is. As far as Oregon and Washington talking to the Big 12. And everyone's like, oh, that's not, we haven't heard anything about that. No one said anything. All of our sources. Partner, no one heard jack shit about Texas and OU leaving the Big 12. No one heard so much as a whisper about USC and UCLA leaving for the Big 10. Those moves were talked about, back-channeled to death for months, and not a peep got out. Not one damn word got out about those moves. And those are gigantic moves. That Oregon and Washington, if they do end up in the Big 12, that's such a smaller move than any of those other moves. You're talking about, between those four teams, you got three huge blue bloods moving to other conferences. Oregon and Washington aren't that. All right, so it's not as big a deal for them to go to another conference, especially when they're looking at a streaming deal. And if it's Apple TV, it's going to be streaming. All right, it's not going to be, ESPN is going to have 60% and they're going to have 40%. That's not the way they do business. They'll allow ESPN to come in with a little bit of money and have a game a week and maybe some tier 3 crap on ESPN Plus and maybe a little crap game on the app too. But the vast majority of it's going to be on Apple TV. That's one of the stipulations they're going to have because that's the way they do business. Are they talking to the Big 12? Is Oregon and Washington talking to the Big 12? You better fucking believe they are. Absolutely. I'm not saying anything's been decided. I'm not saying invite has been given, an invite has been received, and an invite, has been accepted and they're going. I'm not saying any of that. They would be absolutely stupid not to talk to Brett Yormark through some back channels and hey, what can you do? What can we get out of this if we, theoretically, if we, can't get something here, which it's looking bad, what can we get out of the Big 12? Because we ain't heard jack from the Big 10. The Big 10 aren't interested. So we got to look out for us. We got to look out for number one. It blew my mind. I'm listening to 365 Sports, and they're like, well, these teams, Oregon and Washington ain't going to go anywhere because all these other teams, there's no landing spot for them. What are you talking about? Well, if there was more than, I heard one of them talk about, if there was another conference willing to take teams, then maybe they're, in peril. There's the Mountain West. There's a place for the rest of them to go. Absolutely. You think Oregon and Washington give a shit about where these other teams land up? They have a duty to look out for themselves. So yeah, they have every reason to look at every option, and they'd be very wise to do so. I understand Utah may not be looking at every option. Utah's just going to sit there and ride it out and stew in their own shit. Let them. But I'm assuming Oregon and Washington are a little bit smarter than that. And maybe they don't go to the Big 12, but at least explore the option. What does it look like? What would scheduling look like? What are we going to come in as a full member? Because we're not going to come in for none of this halfway bullshit like a group of 5 school. No. We got to have full money right away if we're going to do this. And then there's all this talk about, well, they're not going to say they wouldn't agree to a grant of rights and be there till 2031. With the Big 12 and all this shit. You can get creative. Brett Yormark is a smart son of a bitch. You can get creative. Here's a little idea. Okay. Let's say they're having these conversations, and I guarantee you they are. I'm not saying it's going to end up with those two schools going to the Big 12, but I guarantee you they've had the conversations, they've had talks. So let's just say, how do you solve the grant of rights problem, right? Because Oregon and Washington really want to go to the Big Ten. They want to make sure things are open so they can go to the Big Ten. Whenever the Big Ten decides they're going to do it and let them in, they want to be available. Well, here's an easy way to do it. If you're Brett Yormark, you say, okay, we understand that's your goal, that's what you want. You don't know if you're ever going to get there, but you want to try to make it so you can get there. So here's the deal. We can bring you in as full members, but here's the thing. You got to give us 3 years. You got to be a part of these grant of rights for 3 years. All right, so you would come in the 2024 season. We need you here at 25 and 26. We got to be able to count on you being here for 3 years. After that, if you have a deal with the Big Ten, all right, and you could stipulate in there, the Big Ten or the SEC, we know the SEC ain't going to take them, but you put it in there, the two big conferences, just to cover all the bases. If the two big conferences are going to bring you in, regardless whether it's a full member or a half member or whatever, you can go. If you can make that happen for yourselves, give us the 3 years. We got to guarantee you that you're going to be here for at least 3 years. It's not worth our time if you're going to be here for 2024 and you're gone in 25. There's no reason for that. But give us the 3 years. Now, at the end of that time, end of that 3 years, if you don't have a deal with the Big Ten or the SEC, then you have to stay here through 2031. You have to give us the other 4 years. You come up with something in that neighborhood that would get the presidents and everybody at Oregon and Washington thinking, like, well, shit. If we can make something happen with the Big Ten, at least we have some place where we're playing on ESPN. We can keep our corporate sponsors happy. All right, we can be a full member. We can at least make that money. And then we have an option. If we can make it happen in 3 years, we could jump to the Big Ten. If you take Oregon and Washington, you're going to get more of those other teams, and they will be permanent Big 12 members. And there's also a chance Oregon and Washington will be permanent members. And what do I mean by permanent? More than likely, they'll be around for a good 15, 20 years because they can't go anywhere else, right? I mean, there's really no such thing as permanent anymore because in 2031, if for whatever reason the Big Ten wanted TCU, well, guess what? TCU's gone. Can't blame them. You can't blame Oregon and Washington for trying to get to the Big Ten. You can get creative with that, and I think you can sell the other members of the Big 12 on that. Say, okay, cool. We could play them for 3 years. They could be in the conference for 3 years. That helps us out. It helps us bring in these other schools that'll probably be here a lot longer. And there's also a chance that Oregon and Washington will be here a lot longer than that too, if the Big Ten never want to go past 16. Or if they do go past 16, they want a couple of those ACC schools, Clemson and Florida State, that's more valuable. Or if they can get their hands on Notre Dame, which is infinitely more valuable than Oregon or Washington. They're absolutely talking to the Big 12. Now, like I said, how substantive that is, it could just be exchanging information, just exploring all options. That's all I'm saying. It's probably just exploratory at this moment in time. Not like seriously, going to leave tomorrow. Not saying that. Another show that I've become a big fan of is The Monty Show. A lot of good stuff. I like the content. The guys have, just great personalities. They get me to laughing quite a bit. Like the show. However, sometimes there's crap that I just absolutely don't agree with. And one of them was, the main guy, Monty, was saying that, there's no way the Big 12 would bring in Oregon and Washington as full members. Or what? Of course you would. Well, how are you going to do that? You got $80 million from Texas and OU. You got plenty of money to bring them in as full members in 2024. And then they'll just be part of the deal from 2025 on. And in case you're wondering, in case you're wondering, those 8 schools, they took less money to bring in the 4 schools that make it the new Big 12. Well, that's 3 group of 5 schools. That's BYU. This isn't Oregon and Washington are vastly bigger brands. So, and that's also money they didn't count. They weren't counting on getting that money back or any part of it back. So that 80 million is on the table to make things happen if they need to. They were planning on not having it to begin with. So if they can use that to grease the skids to bring in Oregon and Washington, yeah. So yeah, full membership, Monty, is definitely a possibility. And I'm sorry to say it like I said, I am a fan. And the last thing I'll talk about, it's every media outlet out there, Pac-12, Big 12. I don't care if it's, the aforementioned Monty Show or 365 Sports or John Kurtz or Dennis Dodd, and you expect it, from the John Wilner jackasses out there. But everybody is saying, well, like I was watching 365 Sports and again, they're saying, well, I don't think, teams are going to leave the Pac-12. I don't think the conditions are right. What condition do you need for it to be right? How about facing a streaming-only deal for $25 million a year, which isn't really $25 million because it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money when you sign that deal. So that right there could cost you some teams. I'm yet to hear any good news. So I don't know what conditions need to be right. I mean, does the big one, the giant earthquake that sends half of California, crashing into the Pacific Ocean, is that the condition you need to see it? I don't know. I don't know. Does a volcano need to blow up? Does Mount St. Helens need to go again? What conditions need to be right, or any more right, for some schools to go? And of course, my wild ass speculation is they are going to lose teams. It very well could be Oregon and Washington. It could be Arizona and Arizona State only. Colorado, maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't mind Oregon State and Washington State personally, although I don't know if they have the value to do it. I don't know if the Big 12 would allow them in. Not without Oregon and Washington anyway. So to me, everything is possible right now. The only thing I don't see as a possibility is that conference staying together as we know it. And I'm not going to be nice about it. This is a great thing for the Big 12. It's a great thing to dig the grave and push the Pac-12 in it. Because come 2031, now you're down to 4 Power 5 conferences. And there'll be more money to spend on your content. Now you become more needed in the sports landscape. ESPN, Fox, maybe a few others, maybe some other streamers. They need your content because there's only 4 conferences. Come 2036, you could very well be down to just 3. Now, I don't predict the same kind of wild-ass crazy crap for the ACC. I don't think they're going to have it as bad. They will lose their blue blood programs, and they're going to have to make some really strong decisions at that time. But I'll do another video on all that. Anyway, that's all I got. I just wanted to throw that out there. There was just some things that were irritating me on some of the shows I love to watch. So, had to air it out. So I'm done with the crap. I'll be back with some other crap later. Bye.